Hello.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Numero cinco.
Numero cinco. Number 5.
This is the Fill in the Blank podcast.
Life after film school. It sure is.
It sure is, Dave. And how are you? Let's check in with the traffic. It's Newscopter 6.
Yes.
All right,
yes,
we're back
indeed,
again. We're back again.
All right.
And today we've got some more stuff to talk about.
Well, we got more podcast for you.
That's right.
Let's give them a general overview real quick, and
All
then
right.
we'll get right into it.
Sounds good.
I feel business-like today.
I know. I don't know why.
Yeah. Wait, you don't know why I feel business-like?
Anyone.
Oh. Okay.
I feel that way too.
Okay,
Feel
good.
like we're doing it.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to have a little opening and a little chat.
Banter that we do.
Yeah, we'll talk about some things. But our main topic for today,
Yeah.
film school students.
Students.
Yep, those guys.
What did we say? Fools, bastards, and rich kids.
Yeah.
So we'll break that down.
We'll break it down for you.
And we'll bring it back around and let you know why us basically
Yeah.
calling people out ends up being useful information for you.
Yeah. Because we will call people out.
Yeah.
But it's not just to right the wrongs of yesteryears. Oh, by the way, I came up with a word the other day.
Okay.
Yesternight.
Yesternight. That's similar to
Yesterday.
overneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like yesterday, except it's last
It's the night.
Yeah.
It's last night.
It does. That one doesn't seem like a word that's too hard to come up with. It feels like that should be an actual word.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It seems like it's. I mean, it's.
Like
There's
maybe-
nothing wrong with it. It's not like it doesn't mean anything. It means something.
Maybe Shakespeare used it. It sounds like a word Shakespeare would have used. For I talked to my father yesternight.
This. Then we've got two. Count them. 2 What's This segments.
right.
Back to back. What's
this? We'll tell you. And then we're going to go, what's this?
Yeah. Wait. I saw what that was, but what the heck is this?
That's right. And we'll tell you
And
that too.
we have one thing. One of them, sneak, is a game. One of them is a place.
Oh, my God.
And it's not a video game, folks.
No, it's not.
And then we're closing out with another Hatin is bad because that was so much fun last week.
Yeah. And
So
I really feel like it ties into our main topic, too.
it does. And if you listen to last week's, then you might have a good idea of what this week's Hatin is bad is.
Yeah, we kind of teased it. Or
So-
told you what it was going to be.
Yeah, so a little bit of business. Remember to subscribe to the podcast.
Please.
iTunes, Feed Burner,
Please.
any of those options are good. YouTube, subscribe to YouTube. Watch them on YouTube.
Please.
You get to see more fun stuff.
Yes, please.
And also remember Stitcher. If you're a mobile phone type person who likes to listen to it in their car, you don't have to download them. It streams them. It helps us out the more you listen to it on Stitcher.
Is it just me or do you sound a little echoey?
I don't know.
Okay.
I maybe I should leave the cave that I'm in.
Yeah. Come on out. Come on out.
So
Plato says come on
just
out.
remember all the various ways. Stitcher's a good one. And then Facebook, come on.
Come on. Seriously, people.
Serious.
We're putting up questions for you
There's
to
some
answer.
people. There's a few people up there. There's a few people replying, but not everyone.
Yeah.
And I won't stop. I won't rest until everyone is participating.
That's determination.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on. What's going on with you?
Well, the first thing I want to do,
Oh, right.
and you're not going to like it.
We have some corrections, right?
Well, actually, even before the corrections.
Oh, okay.
I want to say happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, today's your birthday.
It is.
Yeah.
We're recording on my actual birthday.
And how, can I say how old you're turning?
No.
Okay.
Not that it really matters, but
It doesn't.
For some reason, I just decided to say no.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can't say how old I turn on my birthday then either.
That's fine.
Son of a bitch.
It'll be the same age as me.
I know. But either way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. You were brought into the world today. Many years ago.
Uh-huh. So
Now we're moving on to corrections.
now we're correcting. You have
Yes,
a couple
I just
things
want to say happy
correct.
birthday.
Okay.
First thing I want to say is last week I said that Snow White came out in 1928. I actually meant to say 1938.
Okay.
Turns out that even though I really honestly meant to say 1938, I was wrong in that too.
Oh.
It's 1937.
Okay. So just wrong all
Just
over the
wrong
place.
all over the place. Even if I had been right, even if I had said what I meant to say.
And this is when you were looking at a paper that said 1937.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Just want to clarify that we weren't just going off our heads.
Nope.
We actually had research.
Nope,
on the
had it
paper.
right in front of me.
Just couldn't say 7.
Wanted to say 1938, but even that was wrong.
Even that was not it.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to correct is that I said that Dylan Thomas was in Congo.
Yeah, it's not.
that would be amazing if he was in Congo. It's actually Dylan Walsh.
I just went, him.
Yeah, sure.
Because
you didn't know.
Oh, I knew you were just talking about the main guy.
Yeah, we all know the monkey face guy. But no, Dylan Walsh is the actor's name. Dylan Thomas obviously is a poet. We will not go quietly into that night.
Yes.
Okay.
I have one thing too. It's not a correction, but just a interesting coincidence.
Okay.
Related to last week's episode because I talked about Final Cut X.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now maybe I'm just going to go ahead and say it's because of me.
Yeah, why not?
Apple's like really doing a marketing push for that. So they did a major update to it and are kind of, I think, in their opinion, they're like, okay.
No, I know what happened.
Okay. They heard the podcast.
And they were like, well, Greg's on board.
Yeah, Greg's on board.
If Greg's on board, let's do it.
Yeah, then everyone needs to jump on.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing a big...
Let's follow the huge amount of press we're going to get by being on this podcast. Now that we have the public support.
Now that we have like a wave started, let's jump on this.
Let's follow it.
Yeah. So no, they're doing a big marketing push now for Final Cut X. I think they've kind of decided that, they've fixed everything that people were whining about when it first came out. And they were whining fairly. You basically, when it first came out, lost capability from 7.
Yeah.
But they've restored it all and improved a lot of things. So
right, it was just a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was pretty niche. The stuff that was missing. It was like, okay, well, how many people are actually doing that stuff? But it's all back.
It's like when you get any piece of electronics, there's about 6 buttons that you never use.
Yeah. It was that.
And then there was one guy who was like, "Hey, I actually use that button." They're like, "All right, fine."
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, they're restoring that. So they're trying to push for it. So I hope that it works out.
Right.
And I think it's also because NAB is right around the corner. It starts next week, which I was going to go to, but now that has fallen through. So I will not be going. But I might bring you a tech stuff segment where I go over some of this new stuff.
Right.
That might
now,
happen.
why aren't you going to that anymore?
Well, I was going to... Okay. It starts like Friday and goes through next Thursday.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to go over the weekend to Vegas.
Right.
Well, then I found out, oh, no, the exhibits don't open until Monday. And I'm like, okay,
well I can't do that.
That's tough because now it's on a work week. So then I was like, well, I'll fly out there for the day because it's basically the same as getting a hotel room, the plane flight from Long Beach.
Sure.
So then I was going to do that, and I was going to meet my friend who lives there from Chapman. And then she was like, and she listens to this, so she's going to be laughing. She was like, I don't know. I go every year. I don't want to go this year. And I was like,
no, Lottie,
but I go and hang out with you. And I was like, no.
Don't patronize me.
I do want to hang out with you, but I don't. I don't want to force you into going. And then, yeah. So it's not going to happen.
That's not a great excuse, Greg.
Huh? To not go?
Yeah.
No, I could just go by myself, but then I'm just like, here I am in Vegas. I
just want to say, we're talking about a tech showcase, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the...
There's going to be a lot of guys by themselves.
Good point. Good point. No, it's the big industry, like video industry, like trade show. So they have all the new gear, all the Panasonic and Red, and they show up.
And quite frankly, even if you don't go, you'll still be able to see.
Well, it's all on the internet.
Exactly.
It's nice to see it in person. And it's really nice to go when you're actually in the market for new gear, which I'm not at this point.
Right.
So that's not as huge of a deal as it could be. But,
I get you.
Plus, it's Vegas, and I'm always like, oh, God.
I hate you.
I don't want to do anything in this town except for go to the NAB, and then it's over, and I'm like, I'm here.
I'm here, and it's hot.
Uh-huh.
It's a hot, sin-filled cesspool. It's like Mos Eisley Spaceport.
It is.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, a few things I want to bring up. I saw a television show where this woman was interviewing people about food.
Uh-huh.
I'm not usually a food show watcher.
Yeah.
But I got caught up in this conversation because she was talking. It was like a food contest that she was at.
Okay.
Talking to people about this.
Yeah.
And she said that she was like, now I know a lot of people, think that people who judge food and stuff are snobs. What do you have to say about that? Now, these people were clearly snobs. I just want to go ahead and say that. So she was kind of trying to give them a chance to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And here's what they said in response. No, I don't know that I would say I was a snob. And there's 3 of them. And one of them's like, no, we're just picky. And the other person's like, yeah. Or I would use the word discerning. And I was like, well, there you go. You just proved the fact that you're snobs right there.
Yeah.
If you have, when you don't want to appear a snob, you don't start being like, well, we're just picky, or as I would say, discerning. Like
that's now you're a snob.
Now you're a snob. You just made yourself a snob.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just really upset me.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
And I interestingly enough, those are the same people.
Mm-hmm.
This just I cannot handle this. Who bring their tiny dog on airplanes?
Yeah.
Those people have got.
Well, where do they get off? That's what I want to know.
Well, and this is so I found out that like all you have to do is like be seeing a therapist, basically, which anybody can do.
Right.
A lot of people.
That's all it takes to bring a dog.
Basically, you go see your therapist, and you're like, "Therapist, I want a note for my dog," and they just write you a note, and the airline can't do anything about it. And I'm like,
really?
What is wrong with this world? Because
that disappoints me about the human race.
It wasn't that long ago that my whole life it never even entered your mind. Hey, maybe I can bring my dog. Like, no. Well, you were getting on an airplane and going somewhere else.
It's an airplane.
Your dog
You're flying in the sky in a metal tube.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Your dog stays at home, and they're like, these stupid people. But I just need to travel with my dog because I can't leave him alone. Yes, you can. He's a dog.
He's a dog.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. I don't know if you remember this.
It's not a human.
It's not a person. It's not a baby.
It's a dog.
It's a dog.
Like I cannot. I can't take it. I can't stand it. And the fact that
quite frankly, a lot of the people who are doing this,
it's prolific now too.
First of all, yes, it's very prolific. Second of all, what you have that we're calling a dog is barely a dog at that. It's a glorified rat.
It's a large rat.
Yeah.
It's barely. I guess we can classify it.
It's in a purse, but
same genus as dogs.
I don't know. This could be a whole topic just because my frustration with I hate to say it.
They're the same people who carry them in their purse and crap.
Exactly. It generally is small dogs, people's.
Well, yeah, because that's what
it's not. You don't see someone, and this is what I wanted to do.
Just bring a Great Dane.
Right. Grab. I have a dog who's
Yeah.
like kind of a German Shepherd looking dog.
Yeah.
Carry that in my arms.
Just carry it
and walk down the
Yes.
street. And when the person with the small dog's like, "What are you doing?" I'll be like, "The same thing you are."
Same thing you are doing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, I have my dog. My dog sometimes breaks open the screen door and runs out. When
Sure.
But she's like the nicest dog ever.
Yeah.
And
you have
she
a big hound dog.
Yeah. She runs at you like wagging her tail.
Right.
She like, and then she's like also kind of a wuss. So like people walking their dogs, she barks at them from in the house.
Right.
Then she breaks out, gets within 10 feet of them, and stops cold because she's like, oh, what have I done?
Right.
What if this dog's mean? Well, when there's people walking their dog, I always feel bad because my dog just ran out of the house.
And she looks like a huge dog.
Maybe startled them or something. I know nothing's going to happen, but they don't know that.
Right. No,
But
same thing with my dog.
I have a policy. If they pick up their dog, I do not apologize. I just take my dog and walk away.
Yep.
Because the big dog people, they're just like, uh-oh, and I'm like, it's fine, and they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
And the little dog people pick their dog up. Now my dog is like, oh, I want to smell your dog. Maybe jumping on him, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't picked up your dog.
It wouldn't be a problem.
And then there's this factor. Some of those dogs, they pick them up not only because they're like, oh, my little dog, but also because they're like, well, my dog will attack your dog. And I'm like, well, then your dog deserves to get eaten. Those little dogs all have Napoleon complexes.
They really do. What is up with that?
They all want to attack everything, and you're like,
and
you're
I've
dumb.
seen this. I've taken my dog to the park, and I've seen this where my dog's going about her business.
Yeah.
Just,
They just come running up and attack.
And because, dogs are just happy about life. They
Yeah.
just go around like, hey,
Just,
how
I'm
are
at
you?
the park, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then a little dog, she'll run up, be like, oh, hey, little dog, what's going on? Little dog will be like,
Yeah, I know.
And then my dog's like,
Whoa.
did you forget that I'm like 800 times your size?
Yeah.
And so she'll be like, I don't know.
I don't know about this.
And then the little dog will come up and start snapping at my dog.
And then
my,
it's just like,
my dog's like, well, what am I supposed to do about this? And I've seen my dog turn and look at me like,
can I bite it?
like,
Yeah.
is this okay? Like, can I just eat this dog? And I'm like, no, don't eat the dog.
Don't.
And then, of course, when my dog finally barks back,
Then
my
yeah.
dog doesn't try to eat other dogs.
Yeah.
She just barks back. The owner of the small dog's like,
And you're like, what is your
I'm like,
dog doing?
why did you let all of that happen leading up to this point? If you were worried that my dog was going to eat your dog. And they're always like, you're going to attack my dog. And I'm like,
Just like, oh god.
you know what? I wish my dog had attacked
I
your
wish
dog.
it had.
I wish my dog had attacked you.
Just skipped your dog and
Skip
attacked
the
you
dog.
for being a crappy dog owner.
Yeah.
No,
And it's not your baby.
Yes.
I don't like it when people
they
are like,
think it's their baby.
like, oh, is this your daddy talking about
No.
me? I'm like, I'm not his daddy.
Yeah.
I'm it's a dog.
That can't be its dad.
That can't be its dad. It's a evolutionary impossibility.
Not the same species as me.
I don't like that.
And then, oh gosh, and then so then they can bring them on the planes because they just got a note. I don't know I don't know why the airline can't say, no, we don't accept dogs. Like,
it might poop on the plane.
Like, okay, you can ship your dog in a plane. Why don't they just say, yeah, your dog can come with you. It goes in the back with the other dogs in the cages. And then, here's my problem.
I would just like to bring a note and then carry my dog on the plane.
Well, that would be fantastic.
It's a 100-pound dog.
Well, that's the thing, though. See, people who have dogs that don't fit in their purse, that never enters their mind that I'll bring my dog with me to New York.
Well, no.
That never enters your mind.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a difference between people who own small dogs and people who own big dogs. It's a whole different personality thing.
Yeah, they're just...
Generally speaking.
And I'm like, from the airlines, if I was an airline, I'd be like, well, dogs are dogs, and since we don't allow 200-pound dogs, we're not going to allow your 8-pound dog.
Right.
Because it's a dog.
Right.
We have a dog policy.
If I bring a note, can I bring my cat on?
Right. Well, and then I heard that somebody had a potbelly pig or something on a plane.
Potbelly pig?
Like a little pig.
I would rather have pigs on the plane than dogs.
Well, first of all, then how do you control, like, what if you're going 8 hours? Where's it go to the bathroom? Are you supposed to, like, put down fake grass or something? And then, but
I'm going to bring a goat. I'm going to bring a goat.
So here's the worst of the hypocrisy for me, especially from the airline standpoint of view. Or I don't know who makes the rules, if it's the FAA or the airlines themselves, but I can no longer get a bag of peanuts because suddenly everyone on the planet's allergic to peanuts, even though that's all they ever served me. All you have to do is say, kindergarten.
No, thank you. Yeah. I don't want any peanuts.
All they ever served me in kindergarten was peanut butter.
Right.
Like in school-funded peanut butter.
Right.
And now, like, if you did that, it would just be the worst thing ever because all of a sudden everyone's a wuss and has
allergic to
created
peanuts.
an allergy to peanuts. I don't know where this came from.
I don't either.
I kind of think it's not true.
Well, that's definitely not true. There's like 2 people who are allergic. I mean, I know that there's valid peanut allergies out there.
Yes, there are.
But that does not mean that I should not be able to get peanuts on an airplane. So
you can't eat. So they won't. If someone on the plane says I'm allergic to peanuts, they won't.
Don't give them peanuts.
They won't serve anyone on the plane peanuts because the peanut dust might get in their face and they'll freak out. Now, what if you're severely allergic to dogs?
What if I'm allergic to pigs?
If you're severely allergic to dogs, SOL. Like, sorry.
Right.
Like, this person has a note from their doctor, so we can't say they can't bring the dog. I guess you'll just have to wear a mask. And then...
Well, now we're into dueling doctors. My doctor says I'm allergic. My doctor says I have to have the dog.
Well, and then you get the peanut dust thing, and they're like, well, no one can eat peanuts because the peanut dust might bother them. But if the plane flight before on the same plane didn't have someone who was allergic to peanuts, they could serve peanuts. So there's peanut dust.
In the same chair that the person
There's peanut dust all over the plane. Anyways.
Peanut dust.
Yeah, it's peanut It's just, it makes absolutely no sense, and I just cannot, I don't like that this is the direction the world's going.
I agree with you 100%. And let's never forget that we're talking about, I have peanut allergies, or I have to bring my little doggy because I can't.
Comfort dog.
When you're flying through the air at
35,000 feet at 600 miles an hour.
Right. You are basically accomplishing something that only wizards could accomplish in previous years.
It's true.
And your biggest concern is you can't leave your dog.
You're nervous you're nervous on flight, so you have to have your dog with you.
Get out of here.
Like your dog's gonna like whisper in your ear and tell you a good story or like put you to sleep. No.
Right. Take a pill, go to sleep.
Yeah, just go to sleep. Up in London. Take a Unisom.
Right.
Oh God.
I don't know.
It's just awful. And it's all about it's more this thing, it's the direction of society is going where everything's about me.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's what it is. And so it's, I need it. It's
right.
Like, well, I don't care what you need because everyone else on the plane doesn't want your dog there.
Right. It's not just about you. We live in a society where it's a community. You have to care about other people. I'm sorry,
but it's like it's just in the last decade that this has really become prolific, and now it's taking over the world.
Well, because now you have YouTube and iPods
and podcasts. People thinking their
people
voice
who think
needs
that they
to
have
be
something
heard.
to say on a podcast.
God,
like really.
Like anybody cares what they have to say.
Right. Self-centered sons of bitches.
That's right. Those idiots who just want to talk about whatever they think they know about.
Oh, I know about this. I know about it.
I know. I went to film school. I can talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah. You people need to shape up.
Assholes.
Seriously.
Okay.
All right. I think we got that out of our system.
Yeah.
All right.
What else you got?
No,
you good?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I was going to talk about some other things, but we ended up talking about other stuff.
Okay.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's go on and move to our main segment
of the day.
Right.
Boy, we got your topic today.
We do.
Topic today to tell you.
Gonna tell you about it.
Oh, man. New and improved, huh? Adding a little bit live.
I don't know what that was.
Okay. Just came out of you?
It just came out. It was like...
All right. So our topic today is film school students, people's personalities.
Yes. Wait, people's personalities?
Yeah. People's and personalities, or personalities of people's. Either way you want to take it.
Interesting.
Yeah, could have been a comma. So similar to 2 weeks ago when we talked about film school films.
Right.
Like, it's kind of a similar thing where I just want to be like, why?
Right.
Why?
See, I less want to say why, because I know why.
Yeah.
I want to say, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
You're putting this on, right?
Right. Seriously?
You're not actually like that.
Seriously?
Yeah.
All right.
So
we're going to talk about some of the attitudes you're going to face in film school, both generally and specifically.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to basically be stereotyping groups of people, but
we are.
It.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're one of these people, we're not saying that you're...
You probably think we're not talking about you anyways, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They're going to think we're never... and anyone is going to think we're not talking about them, even though...
We are, though.
Yeah, we are.
We totally are.
And we're including ourselves in these categories.
Absolutely. And it's not necessarily flattering about ourselves.
No, it's actually the opposite of that.
Yeah, so... Yep. So generally speaking, I think we can agree on this. The number one thing that we faced when we went to film school, which was probably the thing I expected the least, was the number of people, or the way in which film school kind of teaches you to not like films.
Yeah, or a lot of people just come in and you're like, "Don't you like movies?"
Yeah,
like because and it's not like of course they'll say they love movies. That's why they're there. But then when you hear them talk, like they only like 2 movies.
Right.
Or they've narrowed it
down
like so
one
far.
style.
Yeah, they've
movie.
narrowed it down so far that really I can't classify you as liking movies.
No, you like one director.
Yeah.
And it's Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was one of the big things.
Well, it's surprising.
And film school does not necessarily disabuse you
of
that attitude of, I really like edgy films, or I really like Stanley Kubrick.
Well, I have to say, though, it's nothing that you do. It's nothing about the classes or the professors.
Sometimes it is.
I didn't have too much of that. It's just the environment.
Yes, it's the environment. And when I say it is the professors, it's not like the professors are standing there telling you, well, these movies are bad and these movies... No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
I just mean that they teach you how to look critically at films.
Oh, right.
And the kids and your fellow classmates tend to take that as, well, see, I'm right.
Yeah.
This is why I brought up snobs earlier.
Excuse me, Buffy.
Excuse me.
We have tea time at 10 a.m., Buffy.
I cannot stand Star Wars.
So no, I don't really think I had a teacher, because I had teachers who worked on some stuff that you wouldn't classify.
Well, see,
as good
any
movies.
teacher who worked on stuff.
Oh, they don't, because they're no, you just want to work.
You just want to work. That's it. And this brings me to my next point, which is a lot of times I think where this comes from is that they have this feeling that there's art.
Yeah.
And then there's the sellouts.
The sellouts.
And I've actually had people tell me, well, no, of course I don't like Steven Spielberg. That dude's a sellout.
Yeah, and you're like, what are you talking about?
And I was like, okay, well, if he's a sellout, I want to know where that line is.
Where do I get in that line?
Right.
I want to do this.
Because I would like to sell out immediately.
Yeah.
I would immediately.
If I get his career from selling out, please
let me sell out.
Sign me up to sell out right now.
And you know what? Even if I don't get his career, I will still sell out.
Oh, if you're gonna let me make a movie, I'll make any movie you want.
I'll make any movie you want. Just barring porn, I don't really.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Well, they're porn. They're movies.
I guess in some circles it's considered art.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know about art, but they're movies.
They are for entertainment.
Where you're shooting.
Yeah.
Actors. I'm making quotation marks with my finger. Actors.
Yeah.
In a movie.
But you don't. But here's the thing about porn: you don't need to have someone give you the opportunity to make one of those. You could just go make one. Let's be honest.
This is very true. I don't recommend it, but you're right. But basically, when it comes to people selling out, I will sell out immediately.
If that's what that means, then yes.
Yeah. And what doesn't it mean?
Well, that's my thing. Is I never understood this.
What's wrong with selling out? Isn't that what we're all here to do?
Yeah.
Like we're all here to have someone pay us large sums of money.
Well, right.
To have fun and play around and pretend for like 6 months. Like what?
Well, that's. Do
you realize what you're going to school for?
Yeah, I don't
like
understand
if this
that.
was medicine class, you know what I mean?
Medicine class.
If we're on the road to becoming doctors,
Medical school.
Thank you. I don't know what happened there.
Medicine class.
Medicine class.
That's for
That's one class that you take about drugs. But then if you want to talk about, well, Jonas Salk, gave the polio vaccine to everybody for free. He didn't sell out. Now we're talking about something.
Yes.
But filmmakers, you've come to school to shoot pretend stories for a living.
Yes.
There's no selling out in that.
No, that's what I don't get. It's the same thing with music. Oh, they sold out. And I'm like, no, they made a popular song. I'm sorry.
Right.
I guess they should apologize for making a song that a lot of people liked. Like, because that's what it equates to.
They made a lot of money writing a song.
Yeah, that's what
Isn't
it
that what
equates
you
to.
want to do?
Yeah.
And
that's what it equates to. It's the same thing in the movie business. Oh, you made a movie that everyone liked, but it didn't have special artistic merit.
You made a movie that everybody liked and everybody understood every bit of it.
Yeah.
You must be a sellout.
But critics didn't like it. You're a sellout. What?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's not even that critics didn't like it, because sometimes critics...
Sometimes they do, yeah. It's just...
I want to know how you can watch a movie like Schindler's List and tell me that Steven Spielberg's a sellout.
Well, it's one of these ones, too, where, and I haven't heard it so much with Spielberg, but a lot of people are into the Darren Aronofskys and the Terrence Malicks, which I don't have a problem with their movies.
They're fine filmmakers.
However, there's not someone to me that I would want to pattern my career off of, because they're making movies, not Aronofsky as much as Malick. Malick really makes movies.
You know what? I'm not a big Malick fan.
They're in debt. He doesn't make the money back that he spent on his movies.
Right.
So that's not good business.
That's why he only makes movies every 15 years.
That's not good business, though.
It's not good business.
So why would you want to be the guy? Why would you want to be the go-to guy who loses money every project?
Well, for those of you out there who are wondering, how come Michael Bay keeps getting to make films?
Because his movies
this is
make
why.
Piles and piles of money. And that, you know what that means? That means they're not bad.
Well,
in my opinion, that means they're not bad.
I'm not going to say they're not bad.
A lot of people like them.
People are seeing them. And
they're crowd pleasers.
Quite frankly, the people who run Hollywood don't give two whatevers about... I was going to use a bad word, but I didn't want to. About how good or bad or artistic or non-artistic your movie is. If it makes a lot of money...
They're happy.
You will get to make more movies.
Right. And there's no reason... And I'm not suggesting that you just go make a crappy movie that makes a lot of money.
No.
Obviously, you're never going to try and make a bad movie.
Nobody's trying to make bad movies.
That's never anyone's objective.
Right.
Anyway, so that's a little bit of a divergence. But back to the kids.
Right. And basically, what I think it comes down to is that they learn... We all learn how to view movies critically.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unless you're careful, that can lead to a lack of enjoyment.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
I feel we've talked about this a little bit before, but I feel very, very glad that I can watch a movie critically and say, here's why this scene works. Here's what, if I want to talk about the mise en scène, I can.
You can.
If I want to talk about, different performances or different aspects of cinematography, this or that, I can talk about that.
But you can also just be entertained.
But I don't have to watch it with that lens all the time.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I feel like the most... And I don't mean to give myself airs here. I'm not talking about myself when I say this. But when you're dealing with your fellow film school people, you'll notice that the people who are more talented and the people who have their own ideas and don't tend to be the people who crap on movies.
Yeah.
I end up feeling like most of the people I knew who were... I don't like George Lucas. I don't like Star Wars. Steven Spielberg's a sellout. I only like Wes Anderson films, things like that. Dare I say it? They're going to be film school teachers.
Yeah. And
not the ones who have done something and are here the ones who went from film school to becoming a film school teacher. Like, they've never...
Yes.
Or they're going to become critics.
Yes. Well, critics, yeah.
Because...
Yeah. But it's one of these... where you're like, okay, you need to be able to take that lens off. I mean, that's a good thing to have, because that's how you can analyze. I mean, you have to be able to analyze movies in order to know what you want to do with your
and what you want to
and
steal
stuff,
from that
and what
movie.
you want to
Exactly.
steal. But you got to be able to take that off and just go watch it.
Well, ideally, the reason
watch
that
Avengers
you
and just
wanted
enjoy
to become a filmmaker is because you love movies.
Yeah,
you love
just
storytelling. Right.
Like what? Yeah, all movies.
All movies. You can watch a really bad movie.
I can watch a sci-fi. I can go watch a rom-com. I don't care.
Right. I can't tell you, and I think this plays into it a lot, is at least the impression I got was that a lot of people I went to film school with had never made a movie before they got to college, nor had they really seen a lot of movies.
Yeah.
They had seen some movies, and then they went to...
Well, okay, so that's a category. So we can go with this.
No, but I'm saying the only reason I'm not putting it in our category part is because I feel like it was almost ubiquitous.
Oh, okay.
Because you and I have been making movies since...
8th grade.
7th grade.
7th grade, yeah.
Yeah.
And no one's claiming that those are good.
Well,
obviously,
they're
not.
Horrible,
but at least we've got experience doing it.
But we're making things...
And no one was telling us...
We grew up... Yeah. I grew up with a dad who was an actor, so I watched a ton of movies. You watched a ton of movies. And I felt like... I feel like that helps you a lot. Well, because you're coming in just... I love movies because I've seen... a million movies.
Because I like to see movies. So that's what I do when I have time is I go see a movie because that's what I like
Versus
to do.
I felt like a lot of the people I went to film school with were people who liked a specific movie and then wanted to make that movie coming into film school.
Fight Club?
And they
talking about Fight Club? Don't talk about Fight Club.
Oh, that's rule number 1.
But that's the movie.
That's the
when
movie.
We were there.
When we were there, it was Fight Club.
Yeah.
And that was... and then I remember being in film school and everybody loved Fight Club and
Requiem for a Dream too.
And Requiem for a Dream, but then Panic Room came out.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was all disappointed.
They said he sold out. And I was like, no, that movie's great.
I was like, I like that movie more than Fight Club.
I do too. I actually own Panic Room and I don't own Fight Club.
Same here.
I really liked Panic Room.
I did too.
But it's just a good suspense movie. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And there's actually in that movie. I'll never you can't claim that this is a sellout movie. There's all sorts of great acting. There's all sorts of great and innovative shots.
I don't believe in sellout movies, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of these people. I remember having so many conversations with people where
those are both movies by David Fincher. That's why.
Yes.
It's
relevant
comparison. They're back to back David Fincher movies.
Correct. But I guess I just feel like a lot of these people, their eyes were open to a lot of different movies in film school, and I was just like, why are you here if this is like an amazing thing to you?
Yeah.
I remember having conversations with friends of mine, or quote unquote friends of mine in film school, where they were listening to the soundtrack to Jaws and getting all upset because they just recently found out that Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, or not Rite of Spring. No, it is Rite of Spring.
Okay.
Sounds exactly
like Jaws.
Like Jaws.
And you're like, yeah.
Go watch Fantasia. There's a point where the volcanoes are.
Yeah.
That's what he based.
Right, and he'll tell you that.
Right.
Like, that's what's hilarious, is they get all...
John Williams will be like, yeah, I was
did.
Looking for inspiration, and that's what...
It's like the Gladiator score, too.
Right, based on whole planets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, John Williams is such a ripoff. I'm like, no.
No, he's not.
Dude,
yeah.
That's not how it works.
It's the same thing as doing an homage to... It's an homage.
Musicians have been taking off other people's... Everybody loves Greensleeves. That was just a variation on a theme that was older than that. That's what musicians do.
Well, that's what filmmakers do.
That's what all artists do. You draw inspiration from the things that inspired you. There's a reason why you came here.
Yeah.
Or you became an artist because you saw something and it touched your soul. So now you're going to go and you're going to make... And I just...
But no, I will say that I did find that there's the kids that had made some movies in high school or whatever just for fun or for whatever, and then there's the kids who had never even touched a video camera who showed up, which I was like shocked that they were there.
Right.
Like, I couldn't understand.
What made you think that you should be here?
How did you even know this is what you wanted to do if you never did it?
Right.
And then I would see their like their intro to filmmaking whatever class.
And it looked like our 7th grade project.
Well, some of them don't even make sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, but you need to make a certain number just so that you can figure out. And yes, it's different because in film school they're going to tell you this is how shots work. We already had that all figured out just on our own.
Exactly. Well, that's my point. Is the fact that no matter what somebody tells you, you need to have a camera in your hand to figure some of this stuff out.
Yeah, and it is different though than other fields of work. If you decide you want to be an engineer, yes, you may have taken some extra math classes. But you're not going to have gone out on your own. Well, maybe you have.
Maybe you have.
Not necessarily though. Not traditionally. In biologists, you take anatomy and you take biology. You're not necessarily just on the side like dissecting insects.
But that's because we are talking about a profession that technically you don't have to go to school
No,
for.
It's all about experience.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. And you go to film school to have free access to equipment. And, I mean,
there's a lot to be taken out of it. There's tons.
Right. But I mean, that's why you go to film school. It's not just to learn how to film.
Yeah.
It's free
know the
access to
basics of
crew. It's free access to equipment. It's
And then
late nights discussing films.
Your pencil, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharpening your pencil. I like that.
You like that?
I do.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's about sharpening your pencil. It's not that you don't have a pencil. This is getting weird
Well,
now.
yeah, see, the more you say it, the weirder it gets.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
I'm going to give up on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific types of
Yeah.
people that we're dealing with here. Starting with rich kids.
Okay. They're my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
Because they have, like, and this is regardless of how good their movies are, although in my experience, pretty good because I'm not going to lie.
Production value is great.
I'm not going to lie. Money can actually buy you something here.
Yeah.
It can buy you the production value, and then you're going to surround yourself with people who want to work with you because you have the production value.
That's
and they're
right.
going to be the people who are good because they want
to be on
all the coolest toys.
Yeah.
And so you can turn out something pretty good.
Yeah.
And the smart rich kids are the ones who take advantage of utilizing all the kids around.
Correct.
And their own talent as well. I had some
Yeah.
really talented rich
But
kids
I'm
in
just
my
saying,
film.
even if you're not as talented and you're a rich kid,
Yeah.
you can still turn out a good film.
But I mean,
Just-
when you're talking about doing student films with upwards of $10,000 budgets, I mean, that's fantastic.
Oh my God.
I was on one with a 25-foot techno crane.
Right, exactly.
And
the
SWAT
SWAT team
bands and
and- yeah.
all this great stuff. So,
right,
love that.
Right. Love it.
Like so much, it's like that's like, oh, I'm actually on a real Hollywood set because it can get pretty close to that. I mean, it's crewed by all kids, but by that point, by the time you're doing that, everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's I love the rich kids for their resources, and I like to be friends with them to work on their crews.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times also they happen to like own some equipment.
They own some equipment.
So you can turn that to your advantage.
Usually rich kids, we shouldn't even call them rich kids.
Yeah.
They're kids of rich parents.
Yeah.
And if they have rich parents, their parents usually know people.
Yeah. Oh, they get jobs. They get work.
They
and
always get
that's
work.
fine with me.
Well, that's just the way it goes.
Exactly. It's
Like,
connections.
We're living in America.
Yeah. Exactly. There's nothing.
It's an
you have to
oligarchy.
accept that or get out of here.
Right. We live in an oligarchy. Facts, people. And then you have kids who are undecided.
Yeah.
Like, they come in like, I want to be a filmmaker.
I'm going to try this because I don't know what my thing is. They're going to be out.
They're going to be out.
Or if they're not going to be out, they're the ones who don't turn anything in at the end.
Right.
It's one of the two. Either
Yep.
they stick with it because they really have no clue what they want to do, and then they don't turn anything in for a thesis or anything.
Right.
And the whole time you're like, why are you here?
Really, they're going to become
Because
teachers.
there are those kids. God, they shouldn't even really do that. Because there are those kids when you're every single class, you're like, you're still like you'd see
Right.
one or two of them be like, oh, you're still in this.
Right. I haven't seen you on a single crew.
I haven't seen you turn out anything that I even was intelligible or good. Like,
Right. What is happening?
Yeah.
I agree.
They're generally not necessarily undecided. Some of them are like vehemently, I want to be film kids, but they're like the same category because you're like, no,
No, you really shouldn't be a film
just
kid.
don't do it.
Right. You need to go get a communications degree.
And then you've got,
What I'm calling bastards or pretentious kids.
yes,
This is a large group that you
this
will
is
deal
huge.
This is a large group that you will deal with. These are the main proprietors of the Steven Spielberg's A Sellout.
These are the ones who started the annoying conversations that you walk by in the hall.
Right. People you're sorry that you started a conversation with in the first place. You know, because they're the ones who are telling you about, the sorry state of film nowadays, but it was better before in the mid 60s
Yeah,
when people were making art films and you're like,
people were making Rome open city.
right. No one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you enjoy art. And this
No,
is,
they like talking about obscure things just to show off that
see,
they know
and that's
about
my problem.
obscure
I have no
things.
problem with art films. There's a certain number of
That's
films
fine.
I love.
Yeah.
But when you like, what's that movie? In the Mood for Noodles is what I always call it. In the Mood for Love.
Oh, okay.
It's a Chinese film.
For noodles.
It's a very good film.
Okay.
Chinese film. But I call it In the Mood for Noodles, not because it's a Chinese film, but because it seems like in every single scene in that movie, people are eating noodles.
Oh, okay.
So, in the mood for noodles, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you talk about, I really only like films like In the Mood for Love. And I'm like, that's a good film. But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like it when you're choosing obscure films just so you sound more intelligent.
Well, that's what it is. It's a lot of talk about this and that just so that they know that you can be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And
Right,
like,
and
well, then you don't know. Then I'm better than you, basically.
Right. And I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about people who write scripts where it's like, they don't understand what I'm trying to say.
It's those people.
It's those people.
Yeah.
It's those people. If people don't understand what you're talking about, It's your problem.
And you haven't made anything that people get.
Right. And you know what? There's something to that. I'm not saying that art films necessarily are pretentious.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the kids who are trying to make art films...
That's the problem right there. You're
Right.
trying to make a type of film that it's not something that anyone tries to make. Right?
Right. I don't
People just try
Lars
to make a
von
movie.
Trier is
Yeah.
not trying to make
An art
film.
He's just making a movie about this.
Right.
And that happens to be his style, and that happens to be the way
It comes off as an art
chooses
film.
to tell it.
Right.
Is what we would classify as an art film.
More importantly, rather than try to make something, you need to try to make films that you can make, only you can
Yes.
make. And this is why I say that sometimes, film school is about experimentation. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's okay to embrace the cheese.
Yeah.
Just as a quick example, when I told people about my short film, John,
Yeah.
it's about a robot who takes the place of a boy who died.
Yes.
Everybody thought that it sounded really cheesy.
Yeah. It's not a cheesy movie.
Well, it's a little bit cheesy.
At the end, it's a little cheese.
Yeah.
But
I like cheese.
yeah.
I like the fact that it was a little cheesy at the end. And I went for that. I was just like, yeah, it's a little cheesy at the end. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Turns out, when you make that, everybody loves it.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I was about to say. Is like when you sat in that first class where everyone made a movie or two or three, like you'd sit there and you'd watch them and you'd just be like, okay, oh god, I don't know what just happened in that. It was a girl on a slide, and then it was the sun, and then it was a tree, and then there was a spider. I don't know what that was
about.
And then you'd see the one about the guy who and he's just using. Because this is the first class, like you're just using DV cameras. You're not, you're just shooting it.
Yeah.
You're not getting the mics out and getting the whole crew.
Right.
Then you got the guy who does the whole the full mafia movie.
Right.
And it's just college kids brandishing toy guns, and you're like, this was great. I loved it. I loved it so much. There was one of those,
Nice.
And he was just using great music, and I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, he just did that, and I was like, I loved it. I knew exactly what was going on. I followed the story. It was hilarious. Okay, yes, the acting was over the top, whatever, but it was so much fun to watch.
Right.
Versus your thing where there's a person on a slide and then the spider. I don't
Well,
understand.
and this brings me to my next point, which is when you're dealing with kids and with your fellow kids in film school, be prepared for that pretentiousness to spill over into your projects.
Yeah.
Thusly, they will interpret your projects in the most bizarre ways. We made that short where you were on your roof.
Oh, yeah.
And you saw your dogs running around. It was a memory you could, and we shot it well enough so you could understand.
Yeah.
You were remembering playing with your dog in the yard.
Yeah.
And then it all disappeared. So it was kind of implying that maybe the dog had died.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you got up off the roof and walked to the edge and got down and like that. You were spending a moment remembering your dog, and that was it.
Yeah, because it was
the assignment.
Yeah, the assignment was.
The assignment was I needed to capture. They passed out words, and the word that I had gotten was bittersweet.
Oh, okay. So you just had to capture that feeling
right
on screen.
So it was you remembering playing with your
And
dog,
then being
and it was
like,
gone.
They're not there. Let me go
Oh,
down.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
It was at dusk, so
Yeah.
you got the twilight feel and stuff like that.
I forgot about that.
When I showed it to everybody,
Uh-huh.
everybody assumed that you jumped off the roof and killed yourself.
You're like, why
I was
would
like,
that be
it's a single
bittersweet?
story. Right. First of all, why would that be bittersweet? Second of all, it was a single story house. You can't jump off a single story house and kill yourself.
And secondly,
why would you kill yourself because your dog died?
Because they were all writing their movies about suicidal,
That's my point.
aborted
Yes.
children, teens.
That's right.
using drugs.
And they were looking for that, and they assumed that that's what they would make.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
you
like,
must have tried to have
nope.
some sort of deeper message. No.
Nope.
That was
I
this.
didn't. I didn't. I've never made a film about suicide in my life.
Oh, I love it. Like, that's one of my favorite things is interpretation. Like, too
Yeah.
deep of interpretation on
It's
stuff.
like, yeah, you thought too much about
Yeah,
this.
my favorite one, and I've told you this story before, but the Field of Dreams one.
No, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. We used to have filmmakers come by, and screen their movies, but you could sign
Yeah,
up to have
yeah.
dinner with them. So I signed up to have dinner with Phil Alden Robinson, who directed Field of Dreams
Right.
and Some of All Fears.
Yeah.
He makes good movies.
Yeah.
And we're having dinner, and he was talking about film aesthetics, and because you read film aesthetics books, and it's always like, well, this is what he meant by this shot, and this shot is symbolizing this, and I've been calling that crap out as bull for a long time.
Sometimes an apple is just an
it's
apple.
not always BS, but
No, but sometimes it is.
sometimes the person has gone way overboard, and the guy was just trying to make a movie, and that was how it happened.
Right.
And so his example was he read a whole book, where they were referencing Field of Dreams as a movie that you should look at to make movies, and how Kevin Costner goes and looks through his window, and he has a vision of the field, and it appears in the corn, right? And it's like, oh, it's like a dream sequence. And then later on, then the field's actually there because he builds it. And when he sees the vision, it's backwards from what the actual field ends up being. It's facing the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and I read this book, and the writer was like, he sees it, and it's not the same exactly because it's just a vision at that point, and he hasn't quite figured out what he's going to do, but he gets an idea of it. But then when he builds it, it's more realistic looking when he builds it. And Phil and Robinson's just like, the matte painter painted it backwards, and we didn't have the budget to have him redo it. And I'm like, that's got to be at least 70% of these things.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So don't let these pretentious people around you give you a hard time. Don't let them break you down. Other people we got to talk about are fools real quick.
Yeah.
Fools. This is the category that I believe I fall into.
Okay, I probably do too.
These are people who are just, I love film.
Yeah.
And I want to make movies.
I just want to do it.
Right. And they really have no thought about work after college. They're just here to do stuff. Yeah. And they probably don't capitalize on the connections they could make in college as well as they do. This is going to be most of you. Ideally.
Hopefully, actually, really.
Yeah.
Like
I think our audience, we're making this for the fools.
Yeah. Because we're imparting knowledge about life after film school.
Exactly.
Which you haven't thought about if you're like us.
Exactly. If you're like us, you have not thought about it, but you should.
Or maybe you thought about it and then we're like, I don't want to think about that. That's horrible. I don't want to think about that.
That's probably true.
Let me just get through this and then I'll think about that.
All right. No, or I've thought about it. I'm going to be the next Steven Spielberg.
I'm going to go do this.
No, you're not.
It's not going to work.
You're going to be you, and that's what you should be.
No, but also the other thing is that the little groups that form, and it's not. I wouldn't call them cliques because it's not like people who are like, oh, you're outside of us. We don't like you. It's just you naturally form these groups that are then going to be like kind of incestuous crew, basically. Like,
yes.
You'll work on mine, and then I'll work on yours, and then okay, I just need a boom op. That's fine. I'll come boom op.
You kind of create your own little mini studios.
Yeah, you have like groups of maybe 15 to 20 people, and they're not always all on the same one, but you know that you can call these people, and they can call you.
And then there's going to be most people that you don't call,
and you'll return the favor. Yeah.
Yeah. So you start your own little. It's funny because I agree with what you're saying. The hierarchy, the structure of a film school ends up being like a variety of little studios all over the place.
Yeah.
Which, just to give you a compare and contrast thing.
Okay.
I want to compare it to the theater schools.
Okay.
Because I did both.
Yeah.
But much like film school becomes a series of small studios in which you have your stable of.
Yeah, but then you'll see something from someone outside the group and be like, well, that was great. Why wasn't I on that? And it's just like, there's no reason. Like, nobody was.
You just weren't. You weren't
not like
you
didn't like that person. You just weren't at their studio. Yeah.
Right. But in a similar way, the theater school breaks up into a star system.
Yeah.
So you have your studios over here, and in the theater school, you should know, basically, pretty much in every single theater school, the way it works out is there's a small group, a chosen few, and they're good.
Yeah.
And they do all the shows.
They're the leads and everything.
That's correct.
Okay.
Everybody else in the theater program learns stagecraft.
Okay.
I never took stagecraft.
Yeah.
I got credit for 2 stagecraft classes.
Oh, nice.
But I never took stagecraft because I was in everything.
Okay.
That's the way it works. There's going to be a small group of people who and a ring around them of second tier people who are going to be your character actors. The fat funny kid.
Yeah.
The ugly girl. These are the people who are going to have a secondary ring around them.
Okay.
I tell you this so that if you are in one of these studios over here in the film school,
it's better.
And you can go,
it's a better way to be.
It is a better way to be because everybody does stuff.
Yeah.
Versus in theater school, not true. Not true.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to stage manage.
Well, and then that's the other thing about on the cruise, like, you're like, okay, you do yours that you directed or produced or whatever, right? But then, like, people are like, hey, you want to come help? And you're like, yeah. And at first, they're like, well, I just need a boom op. And you're like, I don't want to be the boom op. Like, I want an important job. But then, like, after you've worked on enough, like doing AC or DP or, like, the important or AD, which is, God, hated that.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've done enough of the important jobs, then you're like by your senior year, you're like, can I
Could I just
you guys need a
boom
boom up? Like, can I just be a grip? Like,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome because I'll just set up this light and then I'll go chill by craft services and watch you guys shoot. Like,
Yeah.
can we do that?
Yeah. Well, right. But by the time I got to my senior year, I was like, either I'm going to be in it
Yeah.
or
But
I'm going to be a boom op. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to.
And I don't know about your school, but there was enough specialization at mine that
Certain
that
people you would.
you weren't, if you were not a cinematography emphasis, you weren't going to be an AC or a DP. Like, there was too many people that were doing that.
Absolutely.
Like, I never AC'd, I never DP'd because there was all those cinematography emphasis people.
Absolutely.
Ironic because now all I do is camera work. Like 90%,
know.
I do editing and camera work. So it's funny that I never really did. I mean, I got behind my own camera on my stuff, but I never really was the
In the
quote
camera.
unquote the AC,
Right.
blowing the air, checking the gate.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I did all that in cine class, but I never like did it on crew.
That's,
Audio, that was just like who's
available.
available for audio, which
Yeah.
is really sad because you
It
really
is.
should get a good audio guy.
No, but that was the same at my school too.
And then I would often be like this, a specialized, like, we have a trick shot or an effect shot. Like, Greg, you're in charge of that shot.
Right.
So I would often be the one who built the weird door and the weird sets and
But that's
stuff.
because we had made so many things
Yeah.
before we got there
Yeah.
that we.
And there was a lot of our little intro movies had a lot of tricks and effects in them because we were kind of trying to show off a little bit. But why not, right?
Why not?
If you're going to impress everybody right up front, that's a good way
Well,
to do
okay, and that's a good point.
it. Okay.
Is that let your movies
Yeah.
show off,
Not you.
not you.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
You don't need to be pretentious. Just make.
Well, that goes exactly to what you're saying. The less pretentious people are the better people because they're not. They don't need everyone. Everyone respects them.
Yes.
They don't need to go around talking about their knowledge and stuff
Right.
because everyone saw their movie and was like, "Well, I don't really care if he knows that movie or not because his
Right.
movie was better than mine."
Generally speaking, if you really are a storyteller, you don't need to tell people that.
Yeah.
They know it.
Yeah.
But either way, just to finish up on what I was saying
Yeah.
before, the reason I told you about the theater program in contrast is that if you go over to the theater program and you're trying to find some actors, there are plenty of good
Yes.
people who are not in everything
Yeah.
who are just begging to be in something.
Like, and they're not bad.
They're not bad.
Like, they just can't get in the circle.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. Hit up that second tier of character people. They're going to be very, very good, very well experienced, and willing to do stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think when I hear stories about, oh, I went over to the theater program, and they're like, meh, 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 I don't want to be in this.
Yeah.
It's because you went up to the person you saw on the show.
Yeah, and they're busy.
And they're busy because they're in everything.
Right.
And it's not just the stage productions you see, but like I know when I was there, I was in every single stage production that was going on, and I was in everybody's directing project.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you're getting a little attitude, that may be why.
Yeah.
Go for somebody else. Go for somebody who's only stage managed because they had dreams too.
Mm-hmm.
And they have not been able
they may
to
have the talent.
actualize them. Yeah.
So basically, if you're one of these people who, and you're not going to admit it, but if you don't like movies, then get over yourself.
Get over it. Get out of film school.
And
Do something.
And if you're claiming you're there because you're going to be an artist, just don't. That's not a good way to approach it.
Well,
you
like
are
I
going
just
to-
said.
like I said, film is art.
Yeah.
So you are by default. So you don't need to go around telling people that. If you
Well,
made a film, you're an artist.
If you're telling people that you're an artist, you're not.
yeah,
People will tell you when you're an artist.
that's right.
Until then, you just express yourself.
yeah.
Don't
But-
worry. Yeah.
It's just one of these things where you can't exclude movies just because your perception of them.
Right.
Like if you without seeing
And you
them,
should
I
never
mean,
shame another person for liking a movie that
no,
you
that's
don't
the
like.
worst.
And I've seen that.
That happened to me first day of school.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie? Let's go around the room. And here we go with the Fight Clubs, the Requiem for Dreams, the the Shining, all the
Right.
all these ones. And I come out with my Star Wars.
And people laugh.
And everyone's like, hilarious. I can't believe you didn't pick The Empire Strikes Back. Like, if you're going to pick one of those, that one's obviously the best. And I just turned around and went, well, you can't have one without the other.
Right.
Like, The Empire Strikes Back doesn't exist and is not as good without the first one. So,
That's just a fact.
turns out my favorite's the first one because I like all of them.
Right.
Like, and everyone was just like, oh, hilarious. Oh, that's just George Lucas. He doesn't know what he's doing. Like, that's just, oh, God. You just like the one that everyone likes. It's made more money than anything. You like the movie that everyone likes. I'm like, well, there's a reason why everyone likes it.
Well, yeah, and that's true. And I don't know. I'm going to get angry right here
Okay.
because I've had that exact same experience.
Yeah.
And I I got in trouble, and people didn't like me for a little while because I actually had that very similar experience.
Yeah.
And my response to them was, "Well, what movie have you made?"
Yeah.
Needless to say, that went over like a lead balloon.
Okay.
Because they were like, "Well, we're here to learn how to make films."
You're like,
I was like,
well,
"Whatever."
he made one.
Well, he made
It
one.
was good.
It was better than anything you're ever gonna make.
That's
so.
right. you got all emotional about it.
I did.
No, and
Because it's like, how dare you shit on my childhood and the movies that made me who I am.
That made me want to be here.
Right. That's why I'm here. Is because I love those
that's
movies.
ultimately where
I didn't watch Requiem for a Dream last week and decide to become a filmmaker.
Well,
I've been wanting to do this since I was 2 years old.
Right, and I don't want to judge those people, but I kind of question it because it's like, okay, I saw Star Wars when I was like 6, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Right.
And then I've been loving movies and that kind of thing ever since. And I'm like, if your favorite movie
came out 2 years ago,
I don't understand. When did you start liking movies?
Right.
And I'm not saying you didn't like them a long time ago, and now this is your favorite. But
how is your favorite movie not the one you saw when you were 4?
Yeah, like the one that you've seen the most.
Right.
Like, there's no way you saw Requiem for a Dream more
Well,
than you
just
saw
because it
other
just came
movies.
out a few years ago, like relative to when we were in school. I'm not saying
there's no way you saw that more than you've seen other great movies.
Right. And you know what? I got in the bad habit when I was in film school of when people asked me what's your favorite movie, I would choose a film that I knew was respectable rather than tell the truth.
I didn't do that.
I know, and I respect you for that. But after a while of being ridiculed, eventually they'd be like, what's your favorite movie? And I'd be like, The Godfather.
Yeah.
Because I love that movie, and it's a great movie.
But when did you see that? Like, like
exactly.
And how many times? Like, this is a great movie, but I don't go.
And now when people ask me what my favorite movie is, I tell them the truth. It's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, and it has been since I was a little kid.
Yeah. So, it's just...
So, that's why we're telling you this. Be true to yourself, stay strong, and there is something to learn from each group of kids that we're talking about. The rich kids... Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. This is why we're telling you this. There is something you can learn from each group of kids. There's the rich kids, get on their cruise, make friends with them. After film school, you want to stay friends with them.
Stay connected with them.
Yes, because they are going to go places.
Yeah.
The pretentious kids, learn from them, even if it's kind of a reverse learn from them.
And, hold on, because we just said, the rich kids, they're going to go places. And it's like, okay, I know that sounds sad. It's not, and it's not completely true. But they will potentially have a lot of connections up front. Like we said before, everyone always has to back up with talent,
of course,
and ability, what they do. But to get those initial connections, I feel like you got to know people, and so you got to go to who's going to have those connections.
Rich kids,
and then those kids may or may not continue to do great things. Depends on how talented they are. But if you can get into connections through that or whatever,
I am advocating riding their coattails.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Ride them right on up to the top.
I just want to say, like, eventually someone will figure out.
To bring it full circle, if the rich kids go places, you sell out and get your ass in that line.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want.
Yeah.
Even if you want to make art films, sell out first, and then you'll have the opportunity to make art films.
Then you can make the movie that makes no money but costs $300 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sell out first so that they'll give you the chance to make your
that's the
films.
best reason to sell out. Is like, I really want to make this movie. I know no one will fund it. However, they will let me make this.
Right.
Then
Steven Spielberg can't start out making Schindler's List.
Yeah.
He had to start out making, Jaws, a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then Indiana Jones and E.T. and things like that. Real crowd pleasers.
Now he can do whatever he wants.
Now I can do a movie that's 3 hours long and about the Holocaust.
Yeah, in black and white.
Right. And let me tell you this. If you sell out first and then you make your art film, that's when you win Oscars.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So don't start with your art film.
Yeah.
Start with your garbage film and then be popular.
Yeah.
Then make your art film, and that's when you win awards.
Yes.
Also, the other thing I want to say, aside from learning a little bit from each group, and if I can say, we didn't really talk about animators.
Yeah.
But if you're going to learn something from animators, dedication. Because those guys...
God, they just sit in there all day.
They just sit in there until they stink. And I learn dedication because they come out with stuff and they have dark circles around their eyes.
Oh, just because it's just so labor intensive.
Consuming. And they just sit in that room for like a semester.
Yeah.
And they emerge into the sunlight like creatures from the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And they show their animation, and usually it's pretty good.
I know. Usually those turn out good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but animation majors have the highest percentage of Like the number made versus the number good.
Oh yeah, high percentage.
High percentage versus the film majors number made versus
way low.
Is way low.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because they spend so much time that they become obsessed.
Yeah.
So
and because of the amount of time, they're usually short and sweet.
Yeah.
They're pretty simple because it's more of like a look at my style, look at my ability to animate.
Right.
Here's a quick joke.
And they have to be personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just spent a whole semester in one room and you like crapped your pants and
and you made a 2.5 minute thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learn, and befriend animators, because if you really, you will realize afterwards that animators can help you out a lot.
Yeah.
They can do things for you in terms of special effects and things like that you can't do by yourself.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I would say is, aside, we're assuming you're a fool at this point. Learn from the rich kids, learn from the bastards, learn from the animators. Try your best to, get over to the theater school and avail yourself of that talent. But realize that the rich kids, the undecided, the bastards, the fools, the animators, these are the same people you're going to encounter
in the workplace.
Yes.
It's exactly correlated exactly.
I can think of people I work with right now.
Yeah.
And I know who the bastards are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bastards. There's not a lot of animators.
It's about the same proportion as there was in film school.
Yeah, I know. That's what's weird.
Yeah.
And then there's the, yeah. Now, sometimes the undecided people are in management.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they end up in management because they don't actually want to actually make the movie and they know they're not good enough, but they're still, that was what they went to school for, so they're going to stick around and do the
But the bastards will plague you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, they'll
The pretentious people will plague you.
They will be everywhere.
And they will be the least talented people you know.
Yeah, and they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
They're among us. So that's I guess the main thing to take away is just realize that learn to be friends with all these people, even though you know secretly deep down their story. Because they're all just continue. It's not like everyone finishes film school and then all of a sudden just becomes a professional.
Right.
If only.
Now my question to all of you out there, if you're listening, and we'll post this up, is there a group that we forgot?
Yeah. If you've been through it or are in it, who did we leave out?
Who did we leave out? Or do you feel that you're part of a different group? We'd like to hear that too.
Well, right.
Just the talented, hardworking group who, if that's what you think you are.
Exist.
Then you're one of the pretentious people. But, let us know. Is there something that we forgot? Is there a group we forgot? Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. All right. Good talk.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our first segment, which is double whammy terms of what's this.
You've got to know, what is this thing that I have found? What is this?
What is this?
What is this?
Well, Austin, what is this? You'll do our first. What is this?
Okay.
What's this?
Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting. We're reviewing Arkham Horror.
I wasn't sure if it was Eternal Darkness or Arkham Horror.
Well, I wanted to throw a little Edgar Allan Poe in there.
Oh, okay.
Set the mood.
Yes.
I want to set the mood. We're talking about Arkham Horror.
This is a board game.
It is a board game, and
it's Fantasy Flight, which I have to say as a side note. I know this is your what's this?
No, go.
That's one of my favorite game companies. I'm a big board gamer over here.
You are. You're more of a board gamer than I am, but I do enjoy a board game.
Yeah, you do enjoy it. But they I probably own the most. They make some of the greatest games out there.
They really do. And they make them about everything.
Yeah, and they support them. That's the main thing with me is like they'll come out with expansions and whatever. They like back up.
And with Arkham
games.
Horror, at least I know that, and a few of their other games, they actually started releasing novels, which I just read one of the Arkham Horror novels. Okay, quite good.
So what's so they kind of have a whole they've created a whole world
around
like
Arkham
Horror world.
Yes.
So explain that for people.
Basically, what we're dealing with is an adventure board game. It was originally designed by Richard Launius, and it originally came out in 1987.
And then they took it, revised it, and
They
came out again.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
They bought the property, I think. Fantasy Flight did.
Right. In 2007.
Okay. And then they've kind of created a whole world around it.
Certainly. Basically, what we're dealing with here is, for those of you who are familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, an author of the 1920s. Yes, they've taken the cosmic horror, the cyclopean landscapes. Yes. I'm trying to use words that Lovecraft loves.
Uh-huh. Don't use the racist ones.
No. We'll say that's what Arkham Horror has avoided probably best.
I'm going to do a good job of that.
Yeah, because
super racist stuff.
Super racist
H.P.
stuff.
Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Really good.
I love his stories. Yeah. But he all the time he rails against people like me, people of mixed race. Like I am H.P. Lovecraft's worst nightmare.
You are.
Yeah. But basically, what we have here with Arkham Horror is we're dealing in a storyline that takes place in the 1920s.
And there's a whole kind of internet community there's like people, you'll see stickers with Cthulhu.
Oh, yeah.
This is all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Cthulhu
And it's
like
very, very well researched because I've read a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories, and they've pulled even obscure references to include them in the game. So it's very, very much trying to allow you to have an adventure that is in the H.P. Lovecraft world, trying to stop. And basically, when we say the Lovecraftian world, what you're dealing with is a storyline where normal people are realizing that they are on the edge of this knowledge of elder gods, of old
ancient ones
that
live in like a different dimension, basically.
Who will come, and just the very sight of them can drive
insane.
Can drive men insane. And if the gate was to open and allow these things through,
it would end the world.
It would end the world.
Yeah,
like we are not even ants in there. We're but microbes in there. And then usually there are, well, in the H.P. Lovecraft stories, there are usually tribal peoples
who are trying to release
them because they are primitive,
where they worship them and stuff.
Right. And that's where we get into trouble.
That's where the racism comes in. But avoiding that,
they do still, and a lot of times with the Arkham Horror, they'll have that there are tribal peoples trying to release them, and there are tribal peoples trying to protect us from them. Yeah. And there are things we can learn, and so it's very, very interesting.
So the game is set in the town of Arkham, right?
Correct, which is a town that Lovecraft created. The concept of the game is basically you travel around the town, trying to shut down portals into another dimension. Because if enough portals open, then it allows...
The ancient one can come out.
The ancient one can come forth. And if that happens, all sorts of trouble will happen. In the process of doing this, you will buy weapons and ammo and secret books and spells and things like that. You may also end up traveling to another dimension and having to find your way back. Things like that. So
and when the portals open, monsters come out that you have to fight as well.
Sure. And that's part of the fun. Let's get to that.
Yeah.
The reason this game is fun is because, the big one I'll say for last, but it's an epic game in which you're dealing in a huge conspiracy to save the entire world. And there is a strategic element, kind of chess-like, and we need to go stop these monsters, because if we get any more monsters, the town is going to be overrun with monsters, and we can't have that. Or we need to go over here and close some gates so that fewer monsters can come in. I'm not going to describe how the game works to you, because that would be a whole podcast.
Yes.
But and then you get to fight cool monsters, and it's not just like, oh, it's a zombie. No, they have a variety of cool monsters from Lovecraft stories and things that are mythology based and things like that. But the number one reason I think that it's fun to play, and the number one reason I recommend it, is that it truly is a game where you're using your imagination throughout the entire thing, because the game is only as fun as you make it, I believe.
Yeah. And it really, I think...
Because there's an RPG element a little bit.
Yeah, you have a character.
And ideally, I mean, you can just play it like, all right, now we're going to do this, now we're going to do this. But half the fun is coming up with the story while you're... And living the story while you're going through it.
Yeah, they give you plenty of material. And the one thing that I'll say, having played it with you guys, is that it really does capture the world. And if you let yourself play the game and get into it, it really captures because that's the thing about reading his stuff to me, H.P. Lovecraft stuff. just gives you a general sense of uneasiness.
Yes.
Like that's the thing it does for me. It's not like I'm terrified or anything. It's creepy and real. Like this doesn't feel right. I don't like the way this feels, and it really captures that. I think
I do. I
Something's
agree.
wrong here. Something's horribly wrong.
Right, and it's just beyond the periphery of most people, and you know about it, and it creeps you out, and it makes you feel uneasy. I think that's a very good point. That is what the game does.
And then the other thing is that my favorite thing about it is a cooperative game. Like that's and Fantasy Flight does a lot of these. So, and I think that if you want to get into board games beyond your basic monopolies and things like that,
right?
Like I love cooperative games because everyone can play the whole time, and you're playing against the game. You either win or you lose as a group,
right?
Versus your risk. You're trying to kill the other players, and then someone sits there. Now you've played for an hour, and someone's just like, "Well, now I'm just sitting here while the rest of you play."
And not only that, but like when we play board games, I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
So if I get beaten, then you and I are enemies tonight.
Yeah.
Like we're still best friends, but for tonight,
you're going to be pissed.
We're enemies.
Which won't happen in a cooperative game.
Correct. That's why I tend to like cooperative games better.
There's and then the other thing I'll say about Arkham Horror, long game.
Yes.
It's an endeavor. So this is like, we're going to have your evening around this. It's a 3 to 4 hour game.
Yeah. You're going to start at 6 and end at 10.
Yeah. But I will say, if you want a shorter game, there's another game in the Arkham Horror series called
The Family, right?
Yeah, called Elder Sign. Mm-hmm. That's it's similar. It feels very similar, but it's completely different gameplay. It's cooperative again, so you're working to stop the ancient one from coming out.
Right.
But it's like on a small scale, so you're just inside a museum.
Oh.
You're not in the whole town. You're just in a museum, and there's different rooms and tasks that appear.
Right.
And it's a dice game. So you're rolling. So if you like rolling dice, this is the game for you. You're rolling like six to 8 dice, and you're trying to get certain results to explore locations. Mm-hmm. And then by exploring them, you gain clues or weapons, things that help you. The same type. It's all the same characters, and it's the same type of stuff from Arkham Horror. Mm-hmm. And then you're gaining, and then obviously, just as in Arkham Horror, you're trying to collect Elder Signs to seal away the Ancient One. That's how you ultimately win the game, is by collecting enough Elder Signs prior to him coming out. And if he comes out, then it's this horrible, horrible battle. So it's very similar, but it's a game that'll play in an hour to an hour and a half versus a 4-hour game. So if you like that kind of world, it also, I think, if you read the flavor text on the cards as they come out, you can really get into the
Yes, that's
the
key. Is to my mind, is reading the text on the back of your character card, reading the text on the, and even, if you really get into it, like I know when my wife and I played together, we would even make up like, I don't want to say dialogue between our characters, but just you would continue the story past what is written on the cards.
Yeah.
And that's really what makes it fun.
If
you let it, it can become a role-playing experience for the player.
Yeah.
Not just a board game. It's not like Sorry, where...
Right, and we're not talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
No, not to that.
Just creating a character.
Right,
That's really all it is.
Right. Kind of letting it become a video game of sorts.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
So either way, go check it out.
Check it out if you like the board games and you want to, and you're thinking, hey, let's get something with more of a stronger theme, or you've never played a co-op game.
Right.
Recommend either of these.
Or if you love H.P. Lovecraft stories.
If you love H.P. Lovecraft and you haven't played these, and I don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And thirdly, if
you like the creepy, macabre stories of, if you like a Dark Tower by Stephen King, if you like a lot of, you can really get into this.
Yeah. And so I think my recommendation, I think a lot of people probably haven't played a cooperative game.
Yeah.
And they're really great. They also make a Lord of the Rings one that maybe we'll talk about in a future episode.
Yeah. Overall, if nothing else that you take out of this Arkham Horror conversation, try a cooperative game.
Yeah.
And if Arkham Horror is not your taste, you don't like the creepy, macabre things, they have science fiction ones. There's Lord of the Rings.
Galactica one.
Right. They have all sorts of stuff. Go check it out.
Yeah. And the other one that
Flights of Fantasy.
Fantasy Flight. They also have a card game, a Call of Cthulhu card game.
Yes, and they also have another one called Mansions of Madness.
So they've got a whole series of games. So
there's one that will suit you.
If you're a Lovecraft fan, they've got tons to cover you. Mm-hmm. But I would recommend trying one of these co-op games.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, my what's this is a place. Mm-hmm. Death Valley National Park. I was there over the weekend. I've been there before, but this time I really kind of explored it more than I had in the past. So I just kind of want to talk about it because I like to go camping. I like the outdoors, and I want to have more people. More people need to frequent the national parks.
I'm tired. I will say this. I know this is your segment, but I will say this. I am tired of going to national parks and only having conversations with people from Europe.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't go. Everybody else in the world
are like, this is amazing.
Right.
We don't go.
Right.
And something that is something that's important to me is getting people out to our parks and stuff like that and nature. Because there's a whole ton of reasons why it's good, but I don't really want to get into the why people should get out more, but
yeah,
they should. So anyways, Death Valley, obviously it's in California. It's about 4 hours from LA. It's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Vegas, because it's right on the border.
Mm-hmm.
Some interesting little background. Started as a national monument in 1933. Now, monuments, presidents can just be like, this is now a national monument. Obama actually made 5 new ones last week.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Do you have any idea?
He did one on the Rio Grande. He did one that's like the, what do you call it? Underground Railroad National Monument.
Oh, very
so
good.
there's a couple that are like historical buildings, because the monuments are, some are monuments, some are parks, and then a couple that are actual nature places. So this was a monument in 1933, and what we learned at the park is that it's actually the mining companies that spearheaded the effort to preserve it. So it's famous for 20 mule team borax. That's what it's called, because they had 18 mules and 2 horses hauling these huge things 100 miles across the desert with borax that they mined out of Death Valley.
Oh my God!
It's the only place that they ever hooked that many, creatures to a wagon. So it's famous for that. So that's everywhere in there, and they have all these borax things everywhere. But the mining companies basically we're done. Like, it's not profitable for us anymore. and to be good, fair to the mining companies, they didn't really ruin anything.
Yeah.
Because the places that are the sites were not rich in the mineral. I mean, they are, but not the mineral these people were mining.
Gotcha.
So they were the ones who were like, hey, you guys should really take a look at this place. Like, it's pretty cool. So it's made obviously at 33, that would have been Roosevelt who made it a national monument.
Now, am I correct in stating that Death Valley is the lowest point?
Yeah, I'll get to that here in a second.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
let me just so it wasn't a national park until 1994.
Really?
Yes. Which is also interesting.
I had been there before 1994.
Yeah. So it was run by the Park Service runs national monuments. But it wasn't officially a national park with all that extra funding and all that goes with it until 94.
Interesting.
And in 2012 it got a full refurbish. So there's a brand new visitor center.
Oh, okay. I was like, how do you refurbish it?
All the roads were
okay.
Fantastic roads to drive in. They're all resurfaced. The visitor center's huge. It's awesome. It's really cool.
They brought in new sand.
So they actually have, they brought in new sand and dirt. They actually have a national park app now on iPhone and stuff. And Death Valley was one of the parks that it only had like 6 parks loaded into it. And Death Valley was one of them, I suspect, because it just got all this new stuff. It just got an influx of refurbishment and funding. So
interesting.
It's famous because they like to say hottest, lowest, driest. Because it is the driest place in North America. It gets the least rainfall anywhere in North America. Is the lowest place in North America at 282 feet below sea level at Badwater. And it's the hottest place on the planet. There's never been a temperature recorded higher than 134 degrees in 1913 in Death Valley on the planet.
Interesting.
So it's really, that's, to me, I like to go to places that are of note. Like, I've been to Mount Whitney, which is the highest place in the States. So this is the lowest place in the continent and the hottest. It's more fun to have gone to the hottest place on the planet. That's a really cool thing to say you've done.
Well, yeah.
So you go down to Badwater. It's salt. It's a salt flat. There's a little water down there. Obviously, it's called Badwater. And they have a great thing on the side of the mountain. There's a sign that says sea level. Like, it's way up. It's like 300 feet up. And that's pretty amazing to think of for people who live basically at sea level.
Right, like we do.
You're like, oh my God, 282 feet down? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Plus, you had to drive like 500,000 feet up just to get into the valley.
Right.
So really cool. Don't go there after the month of April. Basically, the season is November to April because it gets too hot. It was 93 when we were there last weekend, and that's the last week of March. It's 93 degrees, so you don't want to really be out there when it's hotter than that. But surprisingly, a lot of wildlife.
Really?
There's we saw, and I'll put pictures when we're talking about this.
You're telling me Death Valley's full of life?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
Lots of birds. Ravens are crazy there. Crazy ravens.
Well, okay, now, when you say crazy ravens, I'm sure that's not what I'm picturing.
No, it's just ravens, but they'll come over and, like, take your food and stuff.
Okay.
The coolest animal, they have bighorn sheep, but those are, traditionally very elusive. It's really hard to see one of those.
Okay.
And you kind of have to get in the backcountry because they don't go near people. But coolest animal we saw was a chuckwalla, which is a lizard.
Isn't that the host of Dating Game?
I think it is. Chuck Woolery.
Oh, right.
Chuck Woolery.
Yes.
Chuckwalla is it's kind of like an iguana. It's a big lizard. Because I'm used to seeing little, 6-inch lizards out in the wood. This is like a foot-long lizard.
You have a picture of it?
I do.
You gonna put it up?
It will be up during this segment.
Okay.
I have lots of pictures.
Okay.
And there's lots of really cool, colorful mineral deposits, and then sand dunes.
Well,
One of the few places you can see sand dunes.
I like sand dunes.
And sand dunes are weird because you're like, I'm in a bunch of rock, there's a sand dune. It's amongst nothing else. So, I would say go there if you haven't been there.
And are these mobile sand dunes?
The dunes shift, but they stay in the same place. It's because of wind patterns.
Okay.
So they're always in that area.
Some places the dunes move.
Yeah, these are always going to be in this area because the wind comes in from 3 directions. But obviously the shapes of the dunes change.
Okay.
I would say recommend it. Go there. We stayed at a place called Mesquite Flats in the north. So it was a little bit cooler. It was only about 75 there versus down at Furnace Creek, which is the main visitor center and camp, and there's a hotel there.
Okay.
That's effing hot. Up in the north where we were, there's also Scotty's Castle, which is basically a castle. It's like a really cool, like hacienda-looking Spanish Moorish architecture that somebody built in like the 30s. There's this guy named Death Valley Scotty who is famous because he is kind of a swindler. He was with a Wild West show. And he came out here, and then he sold the land claiming it had tons of gold on it to people in Chicago.
Oh, of course.
And then they came out here and were like, there's no gold. And he was like, sorry.
40 cashed your check.
But one of them thought he was great anyways and loved it and built his house there and let Scotty live there. And it had these natural springs and pools. It's really cool. Anyways, go there. Now, the final thing I want to say about it, bringing it back around to films. Star Wars.
Oh, of course.
Shocker. Greg's going to talk about Star Wars.
No, but I know what you're going to say. Yeah, that's...
So a lot of the original Star Wars was filmed in Death Valley. And I'll put up pictures because I went to a couple of these places and tried to replicate shots.
Right. Mos Eisley Spaceport.
Yes, that's the most famous, is the Mos Eisley Spaceport shot where they stand on that little cliff, which is in Tunisia, and then they look and see the big shot, and there's the little white buildings and a ship flying away.
You'll never find a more wretched hive of
that is a place called Dante's Point. You can drive right up to it.
Dante's Point?
Yes.
That's
Dante's View.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, Dante's View.
Dante's View.
And you can replicate you'll see what I did. I got really close to replicating the exact shot.
Yeah, you did. I've seen the picture. It's amazing.
There's also, and these are all like kind of near the Furnace Creek area, Golden Canyon, Desolation Canyon. Desolation Canyon was where the sand people were getting on banthas.
Oh, okay.
And Golden Canyon is famous. That's probably the coolest one because that's where R2-D2 is driving through when the Jawas attack.
Oh, you put Hoo-yah!
Yeah, they jump out and zap him with the thing.
Yeah.
That one's great. And then obviously the Mesquite Sand Dunes are some of the shots of 3PO and R2.
Sure.
With the dunes in the background and stuff like that. So if from a Star Wars fan point of view, it's really cool to go there and see, like, you can just replicate shots, and that's pretty fun.
So you went to Tatooine is what you're telling me.
I went to Tatooine, yes.
Nice.
Except for not the Tunisia part, but that's really cool. And actually, that was interesting. Because when you watch Star Wars, and this is nerd alert, like, this is going to be for the people who really are into Star Wars.
I'm ready.
When R2's down in that canyon, he's on like oddly smooth, like because he's rolling. And you can see like patches of smooth where he's driving. That canyon used to have a road up it, and the previous year before, the rain washed the road out. In 76, they had a huge storm that washed out the road. And so the next year, Star Wars in 77 came filming, and I'm sure that the park people were like, I don't care, good luck.
Right.
But there's these patches of road and patches of dirt, so they can kind of just cover it and make it look like. But so R2 was actually on a former actual car road.
That makes sense.
I've discovered that, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you're a Star Wars fan, head there. If you're not, go outside, okay?
Seriously.
Go to Death Valley. Go to
Yosemite.
Go to Sequoia.
Yeah.
If you live in California, they're all here.
They're all here.
If you don't
They're
live
beautiful.
in California,
People spend their hard-earned money to come around the world to go to a place that you could drive to.
Drive there. And also this, if you live in a different state, and hopefully you're listening if you live in a different state, everybody's got a national park.
Everybody does.
If you live in Vegas, go to Death Valley. It's right there. Go
right.
to the Hoover Dam.
Exactly. Go to a national park wherever you are.
It's $20. It's well worth it.
Right.
Anyways, that is what I have to say about Death Valley.
Excellent. I enjoy some national parkage anytime, any place.
Yes.
So
Let's
our
move on to
final
our
segment is
Hatin is bad.
Hatin is bad.
Step up fast and be the first one to say this movie's bad. We like movies, think they're rad. Now stop. Hatin is bad.
Oh, it's back.
Yeah.
It's back. Potty Rockers in the house tonight.
That's right. That's right. So our Hatin is bad movie for this week is The 13th Warrior.
Oh, I love it so much.
Now, last week we did Congo.
I love it.
And that was one of those...
God help me, I do love it so.
And that was a movie where we were dealing with a movie where I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest movie ever, but go ahead and watch it. The 13th Warrior is one of those movies where I want to sit down and with somebody who hates it, and I want them to explain to me what is wrong with this movie, because I honestly do not know what it is I should be disliking about
There's
this.
absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a good story. It's well acted. It's all the way through. I'm not sure.
No, I don't. No, there's no bad acting. There's no bad scripting.
No.
There's no bad pacing.
No.
I don't get it.
I don't get it at all.
There's some stories about the making of it, but it came out good, so I don't care.
Right. There is that. Okay, now we're talking about The 13th Warrior. It's based on actually, ironically, we're doing another movie based on a Michael Crichton book.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, Michael Crichton book by the name of Eaters of the Dead.
Which is basically Beowulf.
Yes.
If it could have really happened. It's his supposition.
Right, we'll get to that. Eaters of the Dead, really good book.
Yes.
I read it long before The 13th Warrior came out. I loved it. I was excited for The 13th Warrior.
It's a Viking movie, you guys.
And,
God.
and it lived up to my expectations.
Yeah.
Now, some people, the only thing I can think of that people might object to is the fact that Banderas is playing an Arab.
Yeah. Well,
Which I don't have a problem with.
I don't care.
I don't either.
He pulls it off in my mind.
Yeah, he pulls it off, and people are like, well, he has a Spanish accent. Okay, but we're dealing in a movie of accents here. Because
well, right. Yeah,
we're viewing an Arab...
There's a whole sequence about language.
Right. Which is one of the best sequences in the movie.
Yes.
Because it's a sequence in which Antonio Banderas, playing Ahmad ibn Fahlan, is traveling against his will, kind of, with this group of Vikings.
Yes.
And they're just talking in their northern dialect.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting by the campfire each night listening, and it shows a passage of time.
And it starts to turn into English.
And slowly, each scene passes, and you'll get a word here, a word there, and
it's really cool.
It turns into English, and finally he speaks, haltingly, in their language, and they're like, "Where did you learn our language?"
I listened.
That's right. That's what he stands up and says.
No, I have to say that's a John McTiernan thing. Because Hunt for October, he does a similar thing where he goes in on the mouth in Russian, and then it turns to English, and he pulls out. He's really good at being like, now we're doing this, just so you know.
Right.
We've established the Russian, now we're going to speak English so you can understand. And he does the
Right.
same thing with the Vikings here, except I think it's more innovative in the
It's more innovative.
Yeah.
And although I will say that my understanding is that John McTiernan did direct some of the movie, but it's mostly directed by Michael Crichton himself.
I feel like he probably directed that part because that feels
seems like one of
that's
his things.
Move. Yeah. There was production problems, but the movie's good. It came out good.
And it's just one of those movies that it's enjoyable from beginning to end. It's got an enormous number of character actors and stuff in it.
Again, great music in this one too.
Oh, Jerry Goldsmith.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. And it's eminently quotable.
Oh, I know.
Like, but you and me have quotes from it. My brother and I have quotes from it. That we, no, don't put that filth on me.
Well, give everybody like a quick synopsis in case they've not familiar at all.
Okay, so what we're dealing with here is basically the story of Beowulf. You have Ahmad ibn Fahadlan, played by Antonio Banderas, coming from the Middle East as an exile, and he meets up kind of unexpectedly with a group of Vikings, of Northmen.
They're doing a burial.
So you get to see the Viking burial ritual. At a certain point, a little boy shows up and says, hey, the king of the north, so to speak, Hrothgar, is having some problems with a monster.
Yeah.
So Bolvi, or Beowulf, if you're living in today's world, says, I will go.
Yeah.
And Erve the first man.
Yeah.
I will go help you deal with this. And the oracle tells him that he needs to have with him 12 other warriors. So they need to send 13 warriors to deal with this.
But one of them can't be from this land.
And one of them can be no Northman.
Yeah.
So they choose Antonio Banderas. He heads off to them. They go up north. They fight. They meet with Hrothgar, who tells them about his problem with the fireworm shows up.
People that eat the dead.
Right, the eaters of the dead. Yeah. So, and there's an interesting twist.
They think they're bears.
Right, at first they're told that they're bear people, monsters, bear people, and they're not really sure what to make of it. And there's an interesting twist, which I won't spoil in terms of describing who these people actually are, who the enemy actually is.
But if you've read Beowulf, everything's in there.
Everything's in there. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to spoil it.
Yeah.
Because the twist in this movie is that because it takes place so long ago.
Yeah.
That we are dealing with a remaining pocket of Neanderthal men.
Yeah.
Basically prehistoric men. That there's a remaining pocket, and that's what
Europe somewhere. Yeah.
Right, and that's what we're dealing with here. That's why they seem foreign and like monsters to us. But like Greg said, everything is there. It is the conceit of this movie is that we're dealing with Beowulf as it really, quote unquote, really happened. And then the stories
extrapolated it from this,
right? And then the stories that followed from this event became the epic poem Beowulf, in which Grendel was an actual monster.
See, and I just like that idea to start.
I love that idea. I do. That alone is enough for me
to go see it. Yeah, and then it's great.
It's well executed, and I think it's one of Antonio Banderas' better performances.
I do too.
And everybody else in it, although they're not a lot of big names, Diane Venora is probably the biggest name of everybody else.
Like I said, the Viking Bolvi is in the Viking show that's on right now on History Channel.
That is correct. And you have your stranger in a strange land, two cultures meeting and learning to respect one another.
And there's some great action and gore and violence.
Yes.
Like it's rated R.
And is it
rated R? No.
Yeah,
is it?
It is.
Okay.
And it's very creatively done.
Yeah.
It's very creatively done. It's very satisfying.
It's very kind of realistic looking.
Yes.
It's a lot of obviously just they went there and shot it and it's raining and there's sets and
right. There's not a lot of special effects in this movie.
No, just on set, just like fire and stuff like that. Nothing. I don't think there's a ship and stuff. Some of it's a little CG, but none of it. Most of it's not.
That's it. That's
just
it.
this ocean and the ship on the sea. Yeah.
Right. And like I said, it's just so quotable.
I don't know. So what did people say about it?
He's a man.
Why did people hate it?
I don't know. I literally have no idea.
It didn't get good reviews.
No, it didn't get good reviews. But I don't
understand what it was that they were saying is not good.
I'm not sure either.
You got a clip?
I do have a clip from it. Well, just because I want you to hear some of this. But I even looked online, and nothing that they were saying, be it the acting is poor, I did not agree.
No.
With their description of the movie.
Yeah. What part is this?
This is the end.
Oh, okay.
Where we get
he's going to do his little prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the movie, we saw the Viking prayer.
Yeah.
Listen to the music.
And Banderas has kind of embraced their society, but
Correct.
He's also his own
he's
culture. He's still Islamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Merciful Father.
This is Banderas.
I have squandered my days with plans of many things.
It was a good scene. And the music, by the way,
Was not a
stolen and used in Kingdom of Heaven.
What the hell's that about?
Just took this music right out of this movie and put it in Kingdom of Heaven.
I love the movie Kingdom of Heaven, but it got to that point.
for
It
his
ripped
big,
me
for Orlando Bloom's huge speech at the end of Kingdom of Heaven, straight out of the 13th War, and it ripped me right out of it too.
Ripped me right out of it.
I was like, wait a minute.
Don't let them be taken.
Oh yeah, they're gonna not let the
Yeah.
kids be executed. Go ahead and skip ahead to the part.
Oh yeah. So and we forgot to talk about his best friend in the movie.
Oh, the dog. Oh
no.
The dog's great.
The dog is great. But
I just assumed you meant the dog.
No, Antonio Banderas' best friend.
Oh, Omar Sharif.
No.
Gosh.
The blonde guy who is like his guy.
The guy's like Scott Scale.
Yeah. Scott Skell. Yeah, you're right. He's fantastic.
Well, he's in tons of stuff too. That guy actually is.
What else is he in? I can't think of anything.
But he's been in stuff.
But I don't know. Either way, I just like the fact that we start out with a Viking prayer early in the movie, and it comes.
There you go.
My sisters and my brothers.
Oh, they're riding on the.
Lo, there do I see the line of my people.
Back to the
I like that guy too.
And they bring it around to such a touching thing at the end.
Yeah,
They do call to me.
If I had made the 13th Warrior, I would be very proud.
yeah. I wish I made that movie.
I do too.
In the halls of Valhalla.
You know, the main guy in this, the guy who plays Bullseye, kind of looks like the bad guy from Ghostbusters 2. Yeah,
Then they go off to battle.
They go off to
Yeah.
battle.
It's great.
They go off. It's so good. So this is my main question for this week. If you know why the 13th Warrior is a bad movie,
Please tell us what's wrong.
go ahead and tell us. I challenge you to refute that it's a good movie.
Yes.
And I will willingly go on the air and read the valid criticisms of the movie next time.
Yeah, I would like to know
What is it?
What is wrong with it?
Right. Because I really don't know. I really honestly can't figure it out for myself.
No, I just
Most movies that I like and most people don't, I can usually
I'm
see.
like, they probably didn't like that. Yeah, this movie.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's not a great movie, but I love it. But not the 13th Warrior.
No, I'm like, okay, it's not. It shouldn't have won an Oscar. No one's saying it's anything like that. But just as far as just like a nice, hardcore, like epic action kind of adventure.
What's wrong with it?
What the heck is wrong with it? It's
Yeah.
not even like it's too long or anything.
Nope.
It's perfectly.
It's a classic movie. It's a
Yeah.
freaking movie.
Yeah. I don't. It's like the Congo. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, see, Congo.
So Congo, you can figure out why people don't like.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's
Like,
too much corny. Like,
yeah, exactly. 13th Warrior, I don't get it.
No, God, it's just good.
It's just good.
See, now I'm gonna have to watch that. You just gave me the Congo to watch this week, and now I've got the 13th.
Yeah.
Warrior.
Oh, by the way, I did go and buy $5 Congo immediately after our podcast last time. That
All
did
right.
happen.
Let's wrap this up. We're running long as usual.
Oh, okay.
So we will be back again next week, probably. Mm-hmm. And our topic will be, since we kind of got into it a little bit today with talking about the personalities, and feel like an explanation is owed. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we love movies that as a medium?
Yes. Why do we love film? Why should you love film?
Yes. So that'll be our topic of the day next week. Mm-hmm. But until then,
and we'll also probably have some other. Obviously, we'll have some other
we'll have our
segments.
stuff. Yeah.
But
so until then,
it's going to be a space theme.
Oh, is it?
From me, at least.
Okay. Well, maybe I can match that. Review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Mm-hmm. Facebook.com/FITB Podcast. If you're not on there, you are not cool.
That's right.
You're not part of this.
You're not really part of the club.
Yeah, you should join the club.
Yeah, go view the video enhanced podcast on youtube.com/FITB Films.
And always our website, fillinatheblankfilms.com.
Please go visit.
And
Greg, where can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me at GPL Films. What about you?
They can find me at AustinJD14.
Or maybe they won't find you there because
I never go on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in theory, they can find you there.
In theory.
Alrighty. So until next time, we will not talk to you until next time.
Right.